Scouser.
But I guess the bigger issue now that I know will make Bickler even more pouty and angry is when we talk about the whole midfield situation and injuries. So is this just the perfect storm, Bickler, or how mad are you? I'll let
Dude,
you.
I just want to fucking skip this segment altogether. Like, I literally just don't even want to talk about this. Like, I mean, yes, it's the perfect storm. It's the perfect storm that's been happening for fucking 2 years now. Like, we have like a top four midfield that's had age and durability issues, a combination thereof, for like literally 2 years. We've had 2 full summer windows to address it. And we got the whole COVID thing, and we aren't going to spend this window. And then this is the window we were going to invest, right? And like, I just do not get it. And I know people are going to be like, oh, we got Harvey's got to play. And what do you do with Curtis Jones? And what do you do with Carvalho? And it's like, look, those are players that do well in advanced positions. And can Harvey play an 8? I think he probably can. Can Curtis Jones play an 8? We don't know yet because it's such a mixed bag. And like, I don't think those are players that you can rely on throughout the season as guys that are going to back up those 4. We're still in a situation where we're hooking Fabinho and sending James Milner in. And I'm sorry, that's not good enough. It's not good enough. And any other suitable backup to Fabinho is you pulling Henderson back, then what do you do there? Like, it's not good enough. And like, there's players out there, there's players available. And like, I don't know if this is Klopp being stubborn and being like, I want this player, and if I can't have him, I'm not going to have anybody. And maybe that's the case. But like, to me, this is bordering on like dangerous either naivety or arrogance. And I don't think Klopp's stupid. So I'm going to go with arrogance. And like, that fits because we came out like an arrogant team that didn't care this last week versus Fulham. And like, I just fucking had it, man. Like, it's been such a glaring, obvious hole for this side for so long. And the fact that we haven't addressed it, in my opinion, is completely reckless. And if it doesn't get addressed, we don't deserve to win the league, in my opinion.
Yeah, almost like we added a player in Carvalho who more probably suits what we already had, but we never did a backup for.
It suits a formation that we refuse to play. We bought pieces for a 4. It's the same thing with Darwin. We bought players, and we were in for Tchouaméni, and we bought players for a 4-2-3-1, and then we're not going to play it. It makes no fucking sense to me. None.
So, Gally, Klopp says, I know that will now come up. It's clear. I wish I could do the half German accent, but I'm not going to even worry about that. I'll do the Turkish accent. We said we don't need a midfielder because we have enough, and we actually have enough. But the problem now is get punished for something that is not a responsibility. I think the most important part here is this part right here. And what is your take on this? He says, look, a transfer must make sense now and in the long term. We have midfielders. We still have enough midfielders. It's not that we lack midfielders. It's just some of them are injured. This is not a good situation. I don't like it at all, but we have to see how we react on that. But for sure, not panicking. What is the moral of that story?
Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, he's full of shit.
Blah, blah.
Damn, you guys are angry.
You know what that was? No, you know what that was? That was literally like, that was like the adults speaking on Peanuts. It was like, you couldn't hear it, right? It was just like, everyone's talking and you can't actually hear it.
Oh, I thought you meant like my reading or something.
Well, no, I mean, that was also tough, but that was just the Turkish accent.
Thank God I got the subtitles on.
You had to look down and look up all at once. You kept looking down and up, and then you'd lose your space. It was pretty good. I'm happy you didn't try to put Klopp's accent on that. That would have been even worse.
Yeah, I'll work on my German accent.
You know what I take out of that? A little bit I'm protecting the club. A little bit I pick the goddamn players, and there's nobody out there I want it. And that's what I take out of it. I wanted Tuashemi. I couldn't get him. I told him to try to get me Bellingham. It was clear it wasn't happening. And they told me if I really want him, then I should keep my piggies in the piggy bank. And next year, maybe we'll get him. And the fact that and I know Paul's not a big fan of the player, but for how cheap as Renato Sanchez moved for the fact that Frank Kessie from AC Milan was a free transfer, for the fact that, heck, City go out and spend the money on Calvin Phillips. I don't know if he would have been any great shakes or if he would have fit in our system, but he'd be a hell of a lot better cover for Fab than Henderson moving back and bringing in Harvey Elliott for Henderson, in my opinion. And they refused to look at the Sangari kid from PSV. Now the kid just re-ups and signs a new deal. You could have signed Basuma. There were players out there that weren't going to cost you so much that you couldn't bring them in for a year or two and move them on for a profit. But instead, we build up Tyler Morton all offseason, telling me he's a number 8, training as an 8, still a number 6, and then we send him to Blackpool on loan. And now we're short midfielders. So I struggle with the idea that they didn't see this coming. And I struggle with the idea that he doesn't know that they don't have enough. And when you're talking about Keita, Thiago, Fab, Henderson, and Ox, you're talking about players that have all missed upwards of 5 to 10 matches over the last 2 to 3 years. And for Ox, that's just a month.
Yeah, I get angry when we sit here and Klopp says stuff like it's something that's beyond our control. It was unavoidable, because that's extremely disingenuous. Extremely disingenuous. He knows his players better than anybody. Have we ever seen those 4 healthy at the same time for longer than a 2-match span? I don't know that we have.
Okay, so let me play devil's advocate, because this is what I do and I'm good at it. So Klopp, I mean, first of all, he's a manager. He's not going to say, yeah, man, we're in shambles. We need midfielders. It just doesn't make sense. And I don't think it's probably like, and he's not going to say, yeah, Ox is never healthy. we know that, but he's not going to say that. He's going to be like, oh, we never could have expected this and all that kind of stuff. But here's my thing. And I do agree. I think to me, it's more a matter of, if whatever it takes at the time, maybe we should have gone after Bellingham or whoever. I guess my bigger question is, if we criticize other clubs and we've kind of like praised Liverpool, just think about the Van Dijk deal, for example, right? We didn't go and get another center back that was less, even though we did need it at the time. And we kind of praised the club for waiting for the guy that he really wanted. And we went and eventually got him. Aren't we kind of playing the other game now and saying, well, get somebody for the next couple of years? Because we criticize other clubs for doing that. And it doesn't really fit what we're talking about when we praise some of the other moves that we made.
But I'm not asking you to go spend $100 million on Declan Rice because we can't spend 130 on Bellingham. I'm asking you to bring in a live body that fills a void for 22-23, because it's a season in which a midfielder was needed to compete at the highest level. And I think you're letting down these players by not bringing in that depth or bringing in those stopgaps. Not every transfer can be for 5 years down the road. Not everyone is a young player that you build up, and not everyone, there are times you buy a player for right now to fill a hole, and it might be your 3rd or 4th midfielder, but it's a player that can come in and support your squad. And I don't believe that we have those. I mean, let's take Thiago, for example, right? The last memory anyone has of Thiago in the Premier League is making a sideways pass and holding his hamstring in the 46th minute of the Wolves match last year. And it's the same exact memory we have in the first match of this year, making an innocuous pass and holding his hamstring, and now he's going to miss 6 weeks. Or reports are he might miss 6 weeks. I think if a guy gets hurt at the end of last year and has been arguably hurt basically every 10 to 15 matches that are available for him to be fit and play for you at your 2 years at the club, you have to prepare that by the next year, those injury concerns are only going to increase. And that's been the same with Keita and Henderson. And to be honest, Fabinho has struggled for the last 2 months of last year. He wasn't the same player. Didn't really look like the same player throughout the preseason. And then he's had maybe his worst performance in a red uniform on Saturday morning. So for me, there's huge question marks in the midfield.